Do you like cats? Do you like girls? Do you like cat girls?
Calm down, son. It's just a drawing, not the real thing.
We all know the anxiety of getting up on stage to talk in front of a group of people who will judge your every word and watch your every move. Nothing is quite as nerve-wracking, other than maybe the cops finding my second basement. FBI, open up! Public speaking is often the moment where people freeze up or break down. And although you can practice to get better at it, the feeling of anxiety never really goes away. Now imagine that pressure and anxiety being present at all times in your life. And that's what Komi Can't Communicate is about. Komi Shoko is a person with what the show refers to as a communication disorder, and is under that pressure and anxiety of communicating all the time. Due to this disorder, Komi can't communicate with anyone, and although she is popular for her good looks, she does not have any friends at all. The series follows Tadano Yo, how the fuck do you pronounce this? Anyways, Tadano is a normal everyday person, as his name implies. Somehow, due to plot convenience and making the story work, no one has ever noticed that Komi has a communication disorder before. Tadano is the first person to ever pick up on it, and manages to communicate with her through writing to figure out her situation. Komi tells him her goal is to make 100 friends, and Tadano decides to help her and become her first. I wish I had friends. The show introduces many characters continuously, as it needs a constant supply of cast to keep its plot progressing. For the initial characters, you have social anxiety. Wow, he's just like me. Guess the gender. Someone please lock her up. Chunubyo. Unesa. What the fuck even is that? And this joke gets really old really fucking fast. Komi Can't Communicate is a show that has a lot going for it. With such a large cast, it can diversify and cover so many different topics. And while the cast is always changing, the main duo keeps the show similar and familiar to the audience. Komi and Tadano are well-written characters who have a very well-built chemistry, and it's always fun to watch them together. The extra cast is usually of the unusual type, and creates new situations, although the goal is ultimately always the same, and that is for Komi to become friends with the person. But while Komi Can't Communicate uses this diverse cast to its advantage, I do have to mention that due to the sheer amount of these characters, it is not possible to properly characterize and complexify the side characters to the extent that you would the main characters. Many of the side characters end up as face value tropes, and I feel like that may turn a lot of people off from the show. Some people really dislike tropes for creating shallow characters, but Komi Can't Communicate is a show that embraces tropes and writes most, if not every character, based on one. It's done to such an extent that most, if not all the names in the show are actually Japanese puns for the trope that they symbolize. One problem you run into with having so many tropes is the fact that there are tropes that some people hate, and by having so many of them, it's more likely than not that if you don't like a certain trope, it will show up in this show. For me, I found a couple tropes and therefore characters I hated in the show. Renai Ren is one of those characters that I can't stand being on the screen and really brings down my enjoyment anytime she's on the screen. I wish I could just reach through the screen, wrap my fingers around her neck, slowly watch life leave from... Oh, what was I on about? The comedy is plentiful, but not quite as well written as something as Kaguya or Gintama, but had me laughing from time to time, basically 10 times better than this video. It also does have romance, but it's more of a slower paced romance show, and takes a back foot to the main plot, especially in the first season. I think most Komi fans will agree with me when I say that the best thing about Komi Can't Communicate is Komi herself. To an extent, it's a very waifu-driven show, and I feel like as long as you like Komi, you'll enjoy this show. The art in the show is pretty good. There are times though where you can definitely notice a quality drop in the art, but most of the time, it's pretty well animated, with the aesthetic and color selection matching the show pretty well, in my opinion. I should also mention this here, a lot of the dialogue in the show is written down and is therefore visual. For the Netflix version, there are times when what's written down on screen is not translated, and therefore a fan sub may be better. Now I would never condone being a pirate, because I definitely pay for all my anime, but do what you want with that information. The music for the show is pretty well selected. I never felt like it was anything too special. It doesn't stand out, but it does its job well, and really immerses you into the experience. Also, the first opening and the second ending are fucking jammers. Overall, Komi Can't Communicate is a good show that does a lot right, but has room for improvement, especially in terms of adaptation. The main duo really carries a lot of the show, and keep it entertaining no matter what happens. Overall, I give it a 7.5 out of 10. Hey guys, sorry this video was late. I was a lazy piece of shit. I'm hoping to upload every single week, probably around Thursday to Friday. With that being said, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys next week. Bad Anime Takes, signing off.